Every thought I hold, I speak to you, speak to me. And if my heart could hold you here, I know I couldn't leave. Every night, each day, oh, you speak to me. Speak to me, I speak to you. Every thought that I send to you is a flame that lights a fire. For we all get what we choose. Speak to me, I speak to you. Made to see every part of you. The gift of all experience leads me back to you. Speak to me, I speak to you. You kiss me and I kiss you. A planner plan and plan for an all unspoken truth. Oh, everything that I believe holds more power than I see. Every thought I hold, I speak to you, you speak to me. And if my heart could keep you here, I know I couldn't leave. Every night, each day, oh, you speak to me. Speak to me, I speak to you. I'll receive what I give to you. All agony and ecstasy are a doorway to you. Speak to me, I speak to you. Know you hear all I want you to. I'm grateful for the love we have and all the pain I've been through. Speak to me, I speak to you. You kiss me and I kiss you. This longing beyond all longing, I surrender to you. Oh, everything that I believe holds more power than I see. Every thought I hold, you speak to me, I speak to you. And if my heart could hold you here, I know I couldn't leave. Every night, each day, oh, you speak to me.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to ask you to play with me just a little bit differently this evening than you might have expected, that might be comfortable. And I'm going to ask you to play with me a little bit tonight. And I'm going to ask you to start by sharing your love with this woman.
We're speaking to you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda. Because we've known each other, what, 25 minutes now? And when we spoke just briefly before everything got going about, well, what are you doing and what are you talking about and what kind of music are you going to... We kind of got to that point where it said, and Spirit said, pick whatever you like. And I think, if I remember correctly, I said, you sing what makes you feel good. And she made me feel good with that song. Because isn't that really what prayer is? It's a conversation. It's a conversation where the normal way of getting our head around it is you speak to me and I'll speak to you. We'll go back and forth and I'll kind of tell you what I want and I'm hoping that you're going to agree. Isn't that one of the original perceptions many of us had of prayer? And our talk title tonight is The Passion of Prayer. The passion of prayer. You speak to me and I'll speak to you. We'll go back and forth and hopefully you'll see it my way. It's interesting. When you're given an opportunity to present to a group, the conversations that happen prior are always very interesting. And I remember one of my first conversations with Jerry on the phone, and he said, okay, what's your talk title? You know, that's how you get these things. It's like, well, how about the theme's prayer this month, the passion of prayer, that works. We'll go with that. And then a month or two later, it comes up on your schedule to start building that talk and start thinking about what you're going to speak about, because now you're only a month or two away from that talk. So what is the passion of prayer? We're built on prayer. We've been praying for the last 20 some odd minutes. The songs that you folks pick, I love it. We're all one family. So much tonight in the music is a reflection of the community that you're already building here. It's amazing. So, I did come with a few notes. I also told Jerry beforehand, if he can figure this out, he can give the talk. So, I start looking at this concept. What is the passion of prayer? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is the passion of the Christ. And I'm not that much of an Old Testament kind of guy. But it got me thinking, how did that story get associated with a word that to me, and to my generation, is all about love? It's all about the love of something. An art form, music, community. So I did a little digging. You may be surprised to find out that passion means suffering. It's from the Latin, passio. And even to this day, in Britain and in England, if you use that word passion, they translate it as suffering. It's what Christ did in the Passion. It's what we kind of revisit every time somebody puts on a Passion play or makes another movie. We revisit the fact that this was a perception. It was a perception. That's all that passion is. Somewhere along the line, and we actually happen to know where that is, it's Shakespeare. Shakespeare changed the definition, the meaning, that what comes from behind the word prayer, passion, and started to switch that into something else. Then it came over to this side of the ocean, got onto American soil, and it's gotten changed even more. And it kind of went through, that word went through a period where, hey, maybe it wasn't so cool to have passion. There's still dictionary definitions that refer to passion in the very base sense of the emotion. I'm going to ask you to take your passion and bring that up a few vibrations. To look at it from a very, very different perspective. Because we don't want prayer to be suffering, do we? You don't have to raise your hands, but how many people were brought up with prayer as a form of suffering? Whether I give you permission not to, and you still want to. I like that. So let's make passion, prayer, and our passion fun again. What I'd like to do is give you 4 ideas, 4 things to take prayer out of the column of suffering and put it in the column of that. Of that type of prayer. Of the prayer that moves you. I've been hanging around New Thought churches, Unity churches, Science of Mind, religious science churches for just a little over 10 years now. Some people would still call me kind of green. And that's okay. Because when I hear music like that, it stirs me in a way that nothing else can. Stirs me in a way nothing else can. See, what it does is music like that changes my consciousness. And that's the first out of the 4 little things I'm going to give you tonight to take a look at how to change our prayer back into a passionate activity. It's about consciousness. Here's a name I hope you recognize, Charles Fillmore. In Teach Us to Pray, he wrote, "Our most effective prayers are those in which we rise above all consciousness of time and space. In this state of mind, we automatically contact the Spirit of good. Indeed, when we elevate our consciousness to that of Jesus Christ, the God presence becomes as meaningful to us as it was to Him." Hear that part again. Indeed, when we elevate our consciousness to that of Jesus Christ, the good, the God consciousness, that presence becomes as meaningful to us as it was to Him. It is in this state of the at-one-ment that we truly become aware of His sublimity and power. I think Charles is telling us that we're capable of attaining the Christ consciousness. And that everyone in this room is capable of attaining that Christ consciousness simply by setting an intention, simply by saying, you know what? I am going to pray from that place that is beyond time and space. I'm not going to pray from that space that says there's limitations. Well, you know, there's only 24 hours in the day. Well, I've only got another 25 minutes before I've got to be there. Well, I've only got 10 more things to do before I can sit down. There's a saying that goes around religious science that any good minister that's too busy to stop and pray is far busier than God ever intended him or her to be. And I would tell you that that's not something that's a secret to ministers. You have that. So we start with this concept of consciousness. And that moves us to the second key. Spiritual community. Shared experiences. Community that shares the experience of prayer. About a week ago, this world experienced a very small, very quiet, very unknown transition. One of the great mystics of our time consciously chose to leave his body behind and make his own personal transition to the next dimension, whatever comes after this. That gentleman's name was Walter Starkey. If anybody's familiar with him, then you know of what I'm about to speak. And if you're not, go pick up anything by Walter Starkey. You'll fall in love with it. You wouldn't be in this organization, in this group, if you wouldn't fall in love with Walter's stuff. And what he wrote is, looking outside of ourselves for our good is what has previously separated us from that good. So the minute I start looking out here, oh, here's my good, right here on my wrist. That's my good. When I start looking out there, I'm now separating myself from that good. We have looked everywhere except where it is, within our own perceptions. Within our own perceptions. If we get a chance to hang out at all, you're going to hear me use that word a lot. Perceptions. Prayer is not something we do. It is an experience that takes place in, through, and as our perceptions. I'm going to say that one more time too. Prayer is not something we do. It is an experience that takes place in, through, and as our perceptions. To pray aright is to look within our own consciousness for our good, not to an external person or source. In this dimension, you do not receive your good, but instead perceive your good. Walter's telling us that what we desire is right there waiting for us. All we got to do is name it, claim it, and say yes to it. Because what you can perceive, you can receive. I also believe in here he's telling us it has to be an experience. And what I believe about that experience is it's got to be a shared experience. It's got to be a community experience. Now, your leadership went and had a shared experience this weekend. They traveled. They set aside time in a sacred place with a sacred leader to take a look at what's next. What's next for Unity on the Mountains? They took time away, and what I know, without ever having been there, what I know is that was set in a vessel of prayer. I feel confident they prayed in before they started, they prayed out when they got done. Just like we're doing tonight. We prayed in with music, and before I'm done here tonight, we're going to pray out. Or what I call pray forward. You'll hear more about that a little bit. We're going to pray it forward. So you're already having a shared experience. The minute you walked in that door today, this evening, you started having a shared spiritual experience. And I believe firmly that that shared spiritual experience can happen at such a rich level when we're sharing it. When we're not hoarding it inside. When we're not sneaking into the closet to pray. When we're not on our knees in front of a couch or a bed at the end of the night when nobody can see what's happening. But we're not afraid to pray out loud. To pray in front of people. To pray with people. That's the passion. To me, it asks the question, what are you building your foundation on here? You guys have been working on this. We know that. In all of the New Thought traditions. And by the way, has anybody heard the term 10 tribes? So you don't really know you're part of the 10 tribes, right? When you're singing about the one family this evening, I'm sitting in the back going, yeah. Last year, at the World Parliament of Religions, which was in Melbourne, Australia, it was the first week in December, something magnificent occurred. All of the top 10, and I don't think there's anything beyond that, and if they are, we couldn't find them, but delegates, representatives from all top 10 New Thought organizations in the world got together in one place. So, International Centers for Spiritual Living, the United Centers for Spiritual Living, the Association for Global New Thought International, Unity International, and a couple other ones, and Agape. I guess for the next time I do this talk, I really should have all 10 of them memorized. They all got together and went down to Melbourne and showed the world what New Thought can be. What a worldwide organization of New Thought can be. See, we are all one family. I'm just that distant cousin that thankfully, well, I was going to say, that only comes through town once every so often. But I'm more grateful that I actually live in Colorado. So I'm really happy to be here, to not be traveling. To be able to say, you know what, it doesn't matter what church you go to, we're all saying pretty much the same idea, with a little bit different words. As I came in this evening, somebody asked me where I'm from. I'm saying, well, that's a really interesting question. Right now I'm from Lakewood, but I've lived in Colorado, I've lived over in Utah, I've lived in New Hampshire, Vermont, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, a little bit in North Carolina, and they said, well, you don't have an accent. Cool. We can get around a little bit to the different organizations and say, hey, how do you do it here? How do I do it here? How do we build this experience of shared community, not only here in the local level, but on the worldwide level? That's a bigger talk, and that's another talk. I want to give us our third key tonight, and that's the public practice of our passion. When you look at the artists on the wall, all of them spend countless amount of time perfecting and feeling comfortable displaying their artwork. Those things don't just happen. They happen with practice. Now, how many of you at one time or another were taught practice makes perfect? Yeah. No, sorry. It's not true. Inspired practice. Perfect practice. Practice that you believe in. Practice that makes you say, yeah. I can only imagine how many times Diane gets up from the keyboard and is either sobbing or is just, woo, yeah, ah, excited. Because when the practice happens, it's as good as the real thing. So my question is, are you practicing out loud? Are you praying before a meeting? Are you saying a blessing over your food, even if it's just you at the local diner? Are you sharing that experience by taking a moment away in a stressful situation to say, you know what, I love you way too much to argue with you about this, and I need to turn within myself, and I need to get centered. You okay with that? Cool. Let's come back to this conversation in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Are you practicing out loud? Are you sharing it? If you're on Facebook, find me, because I find some of the coolest stuff on Facebook. And if you're not on Facebook, that's cool. No big deal. You won't get to see these things. I'll just have to explain them. And I found one recently, I'm going to kind of paraphrase it. It's a little picture, and all it says is, what if all you have tomorrow is what you told God you were grateful for today?
Oh, that's good.
Let that one sink in. If that alone is not enough inspiration to go out and practice what you preach, practice your prayer, practice your connection, practice that kiss with God. Wow. I don't know what else I would need to say. I could come beat you up or, berate you or guilt you or something. But that's not really who we are or what we do, right? You're ready to practice. Because what happens is you get to that point of practice that you suddenly realize, I'm not practicing anymore. I'm in the game, coach. I just scored. The relationship cleaned up. The mortgage came through. The car I've always wanted showed up in my park, in my driveway, whatever it might be. I just created a much deeper relationship with my daughter. I just helped a friend get through a suicide crisis. How do you do those things without prayer? So the fourth part is to pray without ceasing. To pray without ceasing. Now, what if prayer without ceasing is not about constantly begging God for something or beseeching God to do your bidding? What if it's about living in a conscious community that is practicing a co-creative experience, a conscious community that is creating a co-creative experience? So that implies a couple of things. Number one, that everybody in the community is awake, likes being awake, is not hiding, is not running away. Now that doesn't mean we might not have our own things to work with. Some people would call those issues. I just prefer to call them blessings I get to work with. We might have those. And that doesn't mean you're not part of the conscious community. conscious community working together to co-create. That means we don't have to do it by ourselves. It means you do not have to do any of it by yourself. You got God as your partner. Another one of those fun little placards that I like to find is, and you've probably heard this because this one's been around as long as I've been in this movement, and I'm sure it's been around for a lot longer than that. But don't tell your God how big your problems are. Tell your problems how big your God is. How would that transform your life? The only reason I get to stand here tonight and talk about this is because I allowed prayer to transform my life. And along the way, just like I'm one of those distant cousins who gets to come visit, along the way I found a couple of cousins of prayer. Meditation and visioning. Meditation and visioning. How many people in the room are familiar with the term visioning? Cool. Now, if you think that visioning means closing your eyes and picturing something that you want, you got to take your hand back down. That's visualizing. Visioning is truly about being open to a higher call, being open to a higher image, being open to God's ideal for your life, for your church, for your project, for whatever it might be. So it's a little bit different. And what we're going to do this evening is we're about to experience that just a little bit as part of our meditation. Because I kind of skipped the meditation in the beginning, didn't I? What if each of you were part of a co-creative community, working with God, working with God's highest vision for this organization, for your community, for your personal life, for your family's life? Is there anything that you could not do? Is there anything that could stop you from attaining that Christ consciousness that Charles so passionately asks us to attempt, to go for? The most effective prayers are those in which we rise above all consciousness of time and space. We automatically contact the Spirit of God. We elevate our consciousness to the same that was in the Christ Jesus. Wow. I think that'd be a really groovy place to be. And a really groovy place to play. I think I remember I was asking you to play with me a little bit tonight, wasn't it? So what I'm going to ask you to do, if you're willing and if you're comfortable, is just simply close your eyes. And right now, inside, just affirm to yourself that you will be able to remember every detail of this shared experience. There's no need to concern ourselves with how or why that happens. Just know and rest that everything you feel, everything you see, everything you hear, you will remember. For it is God sharing with you God's highest vision for your life. So just let your heart be filled right now. It's okay to ask. Ask God, what is this high vision for my life? What is the most grand and glorious vision for my life? Good. Now go deeper. Ask again. What is the absolute highest vision for my life? What does it feel like? What are the sounds associated with it? Ah, yes, yes, yes. Allow the vision to expand. Let it get bigger, taller, larger. Allow the vision to fulfill itself. And now turn within, silently, inwardly. Express a sense of gratitude. Gratitude to that higher power, to that one universal source energy. Express your feelings of gratitude right now for this vision, for this glimpse into the magnificent vision of your life. Experience the gratitude for this vision and for that deep, deep inner knowing that this is already so in the mind of God. Oh, yes. So from this place, within this sacred vessel we have created together, co-created with Spirit, just allow this prayer to fill you, to inspire you, to uplift you. For it is right here, right now, in this divine moment, in this sacred space that I recognize there is truly only one power, one presence, one intelligence that permeates and operates as this entire universe. I call that power God. And I recognize God by many, many, many names. Some call it Brahma or Buddha or Yahweh or Vishnu. The higher one, source energy, the higher call. I just say God. And I recognize God as love, as light, as the source, the unlimited source of beauty and intelligence, wealth and well-being. The unlimited supply of abundance, prosperity, opulence. It's all God. All of it, every moment of it, the very breath of your neighbor. Right there, God expressing as all of life. And so I recognize in this moment that God expresses as my life perfectly, whole and complete, with nothing missing. As I know this truth of my life, I know this must be true of other lives, and in fact all life. And so I know it must be true of your life. That your life, right now, right here, is a divine emanation of Spirit. It is a one-time event on this planet, never to be repeated. And I know that this world, this planet, would be a much, much lesser place without you. Without the gifts that you bring, without the gifts that only you can bring. Without your magnificence, I know this world would be a much lesser place. And so right now, I just revel in. I revel and I enjoy the moment, the recognition of how amazingly magnificent, how wonderful you are right now. I claim for you a deep, deep knowing that every desire of your life is already manifest in the mind of God, that is already moving into form in this physical universe. I rest deep in the knowingness that your vision, the vision you have cast for yourself, and yet the vision that you have caught of God's highest calling for you is one and the same. That it is moving into form right now, that there is nothing you can do to stop it. All that you are asked is to step out and allow that vision, that magnificence to pour forth through you as your very breath. And I know in this moment that each and every one of you is ready. is prepared, is capable, is willing, is out there in your own way saying, yes, yes, Spirit, yes. There is a passion in prayer. It's right there at that sacred yes. So right now I am simply grateful. Grateful for the opportunity to speak this word. Grateful to be the conduit through which God reminds each and every one of us of our magnificence. Grateful to know that as I loose this word out into the ether, out into that universal system, that universal one, that it's already done in the mind of God. And so there is nothing that I need to do, no way I need to get involved other than to hold that vision. I can let God be God. I can let God manifest as my life. And so I am grateful. I do rejoice. But I let go of the need to try and fix it, create it. I just let God do that. I let God be God. It does feel good. And so I simply affirm this prayer by stating, and so it is.
So it is.
Amen. Namaste.
Namaste.